Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Brent Hedgepeth. Our ceremony will begin shortly following the arrival on stage of our official party. As the party enters, please rise and remain standing through the introductions and national anthem. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the Secretary of the Air Force, the Honorable Edward C. Pete Aldridge, Jr. Accompanying the Secretary of the Air Force today is Mr. Thomas V. Jones, Chairman of the Board and Chief Executive Officer for Northrop Corporation. General Larry D. Welch, Chief of Staff of the United States Air Force. General John T. Chain, Jr., Commander-in-Chief, Strategic Air Command. And Brigadier General Richard M. Schofield, Director of the B-2 System Program Office. Ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Thomas V. Jones.
It's my privilege to welcome you to Northrop's Corner, a pretty sizable corner at that, of Air Force's Plant 42 here in Palmdale. If the B-2 division at Pico Rivera is the birthplace of the B-2, then you can probably say that Plant 42 is its home. This is where the B-2 matures and goes out into the world. We're marking a momentous event to the country, to the Air Force, and certainly for all of us at Northrop and our nationwide industrial team. Now here we have 2,200 men and women of that select society, the B-2 team, that are right here today, representing their co-workers everywhere. But we did feel it was important for everyone who has been involved in the B-2 to have the chance to witness this historic occasion real time. So with the permission of the Air Force, this ceremony is being watched live on a special satellite television network going out across the country to our many Northrop operating centers, to the Air Force Aeronautical Systems Division in Dayton, Ohio, and the Systems Command at Andrews Air Force Base, Maryland, to the Strategic Air Command Headquarters in Omaha, to Tinker Air Force Base, Oklahoma, and Eglin Air Force Base in Florida, to Boeing in Seattle, to LTV in Dallas, to General Electric in Cincinnati, and Hughes here in California, to New York and to Washington, and still other locations throughout America. so that every proud member of the B-2 team can participate with us here at Palmdale. To you here in Palmdale and all over the country, welcome and thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, General Larry D. Welch.
Secretary Aldridge, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to be a part of this very special occasion because this occasion is important to all who look to U.S. strategic forces to deter nuclear war. And that's the mission of the B-2. And as this aircraft becomes operational over the next few years, it will be a powerful addition to our deterrent force. Successful deterrence comes from strategic forces of such strength and such versatility that no opponent could ever believe that they could gain from attacking the United States or our allies. And ensuring that we have that kind of force requires modernizing the triad of strategic nuclear forces: the land-based ballistic missiles, the sea-based ballistic missiles, and our bomber force. And fielding the B-2 does much to ensure that that strategy of deterrence will continue to be effective in the decades to come. The B-2 is a superb example of the inherent technological advantage of a free enterprise system and of a free society. It will ensure that any potential adversary must face the uniquely effective retaliatory potential of the penetrating bomber, with its large payloads of high-yield weapons delivered with devastating accuracy on any target anywhere. This aircraft combines all of the best attributes of a penetrating bomber: long range, efficient cruise, heavy payload, all-altitude penetration capability, accurate delivery, and much attention to reliability and maintainability. Added to all that is the greatly enhanced effectiveness and versatility provided by its stealth characteristics. But bringing this aircraft to some very important milestone today required an intense effort by a talented and dedicated industry and Air Force team. And for that, we owe thanks to Mr. Tom Jones and all the members of the industry team, and to General Dick Schofield and all the members of the Air Force team. And we also owe thanks to the families of all the members of that combined team who have shared in this enterprise with their support through the very many months of long hours that it took to produce what we will see today. We have much left to do to complete the free flight preparation for the first flight, to ring out the systems and flight test, and to produce the remaining aircraft in this program as efficiently as possible. To complete that work, we need the continued dedication of the industry team and the U.S. Air Force team, and I know we'll have that. We need the continued support of the administration and the Congress, and I'm confident that we'll have that. But most of all, we need continued public understanding and support of the compelling logic of deterrence, because the overriding purpose of this new bomber is to ensure that we never need employ it or any other elements in our triad of strategic nuclear forces in their strategic nuclear role. That certainly warrants the high priority we have accorded this program, and it completely warrants continued unwavering support. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Secretary of the Air Force, the Honorable Edward C. Pete Aldridge, Jr.
Thank you. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor to represent the United States Air Force at this landmark event for our nation's strategic deterrent posture. This is a significant occasion for the country, for our Air Force, and for the entire contractor team headed by Northrop. The people of America depend on our Air Force to keep the peace. For the last 42 years, The manned long-range bombers of the Strategic Air Command have proven that they are the most flexible asset in our nuclear triad. In a very real sense, the SAC air crews and the aircraft they fly have been the bedrock upon which strategic deterrence rests. The B-2 underlines our commitment to the manned bomber. Today also represents a significant milestone for our Air Force's acquisition process. This achievement culminates nearly 10 years of research and development at the cutting edge of stealth technologies and innovation in aircraft design. The manufacturing technologies pioneered by the Northrop team will revolutionize America's aerospace industries and significantly enhance our industrial base. While the B-1B was evolutionary in design, the B-2 is revolutionary. It represents a crucial leap in our strategic modernization program. The B-2's first flight will highlight the return of the flying wing design to military aviation, a design pioneered by Northrop. I am certain that the B-2 we roll out today will become a keystone in our competitive strategies concept, which aligns America's strengths against the weaknesses of potential enemies. The B-2 bomber represents a stabilizing system in time of crisis and an essential component of our strategic nuclear forces as we progress down the path of nuclear arms reductions. The unique operational capabilities, both nuclear and conventional, that the B-2 will give our strategic forces will promote deterrence of nuclear conflict. Its stealth capability will permit it to penetrate the most sophisticated air defenses and survive well into the 21st century. Ladies and gentlemen, in a few moments, you will see the tangible results of bipartisan support for a weapons system, which will ensure America's security far into the future. Today, we're not just rolling out America's new strategic bomber, we're ushering in a new age of strategic deterrence. As we honor this great achievement in the history of strategic aviation, let us all remember America's enduring hope and prayer that the B-2 will strengthen the cause of peace and that this magnificent aircraft will never fly in anger. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Brigadier General Richard M. Schofield.
Secretary Aldridge, General Welch, General Chain, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's my honor to represent the thousands of men and women who have contributed so much to the success of the B-2 program over the last 7 years. I would say to each of you, those here present and those of you watching on the other end of the TV link, you can and should be proud of your personal and professional contribution to achieving this historic milestone. The B-2 is a remarkable aircraft. Many of us have known that for some time and have known how remarkable it really is. The time has now come to share that. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the entire B-2 team, I am proud to present the first B-2 bomber.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jones.
Look up and smile. You got there. You're being introduced. Yeah, right.
I guess I couldn't take my eyes off the airplane. And when I look at that airplane, I can't help but think of one thing: the years and years of sheer hard work by so many men and women here at Northrop and our team members all over the country. The task was to create an airplane so new, so revolutionary, with technologies we were just beginning to understand and manufacturing processes we hardly knew at all. The only thing for them to do was to work very, very hard. They had to be creative, innovative, inventive, individually and together. They had to be imaginative and adventurous, had to be talented and skillful craftsmen and women. They had to be persistent and patient, and maybe a little bit lucky now and then. And for years, they've been working in a kind of honorable exile. They haven't been able to tell anyone what they've been doing. They haven't been able to talk about their problems and their frustrations. And even more important, they haven't been able to talk about their successes. Their work has been subject to every kind of speculation, most of it wrong. They persevered, and now you can see what it's all been about. The Air Force recognized the possibilities years ago and encouraged us to go for them. That's what America is all about: reaching for the possibilities, backing our beliefs, and making them become reality. The Air Force had the vision, and they had the confidence, and our people justified that confidence. The B-2 is the first computer-age airplane, but this airplane wasn't built by computers, and computers didn't replace people. Computers brought people together and gave them the tools they needed to make the most of their own individual skills and imagination. Years ago, when we designed airplanes, everybody worked in the same room, or at least in the same building. Then things got specialized and complicated, and we all got separated. Now, with the computer network that we developed for this program, we've brought them back together under one roof electronically. And men and women all over the country have been able to join together in this extraordinary effort. People at Boeing and LTV, General Electric and Hughes, and hundreds of other companies, big and small, all over America, all working side by side with people here at Northrop. And we've been able to tie together the experience and the knowledge of industry and the Air Force right at the outset. Strategic Air Command pilots have already flown the B-2 for thousands of hours in simulators. This is already their airplane. SAC crew chiefs and the line maintenance people have given us their advice and the benefit of their experience. This is their airplane too. The Air Force logistics people have participated from the outset, and the flight test people at Edwards Air Force Base next door. This is their airplane. And of course, all the people involved in the B-2 program at the Air Force Systems Command and the Aeronautical Systems Command. This is surely their airplane. But I really have to commend the men and women of Northrop who struggled against the unknowns and the impossibles and the won't works and the simply difficult for long hours and longer weeks and many years to create a revolutionary new weapon system, the B-2. This is their airplane. And to their families who couldn't couldn't help and didn't complain much. This is certainly their airplane too. I think they all deserve our thanks and our applause. Our nation has placed its trust in us. They are proud of what you're doing, and I'm proud. And I'm proud to be associated with you. In closing, I'd like to express my thanks and my recognition to someone who can't be here today. He died before the B-2 couldn't become a reality. But thanks to the Air Force, before he died, he learned in a very private, specially arranged briefing that the flying wing would eventually emerge from a legend of the past and the secrecy of the present to be recognized and to contribute to a safer America of the future. Jack Northrop, we salute you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our ceremony. Please remain seated until the official party has departed. Thank you.
As soon as it's ready, where there's no date that we've established for the first flight, it will probably be in a couple of months, but we're going to fly it when it's ready to fly and not any time before.
How many pilots do you have?
There'll be two pilots and a provision for a third if necessary.
How do you get in and out of that thing? I can see the hatch.
There's a hatch underneath the wheel well door in the back.
Let me ask you two questions and I'll subside. On the arms control feature of it, are you willing to let the Russians see this plane if we have a START agreement? Is there any problem with them looking at this?
Yeah, the question is, are we willing, in a START agreement, willing the Russians to go see this airplane? The answer is no, not up close. They can count it. As far as the SALT agreement is concerned, is how many airplanes do you have? How many of the number of delivery vehicles? And we'll let them count it, but we're not going to let them get up close to it.
Are you going to announce the date of the first flight at some time?
We'll maybe announce it. Not really sure. We haven't determined that yet.
You said there was a provision for a third if you need it. You haven't decided yet if you need it?
There's provision for a third pilot in there if we need one for whatever purpose. We're planning right now to fly two. We've designed provisions to put a third in if necessary.
What are the two big things on each side of the cockpit?
Those are the engine inlets.
How many are under assembly right now?
I can't tell you that. I will have to give you information. I don't know the answer to that.
Secretary, you talked a lot about what the plane can do, but you didn't say very much at all about how much the plane's going to cost.
Well, we don't. The answer is we'll determine the cost, and it will be provided to the Congress in the January budget submission. The costing is still underway based upon a revision of the schedule and the program, and when that cost effort is completed, and we put it into our budget and we submit it to Congress, we'll tell you what it's going to cost, and that'll be in January.
But it is correct, isn't it, that the cost has already risen from your original estimate?
The $36.6 billion, which was the original estimate in 1981, has increased. How much that has increased, I'm not willing and not prepared to tell you at this point.
When would you anticipate actual radar profile evaluation?
As soon as it starts flight testing.
Is this a day and night bomber, or you think you'll fly mostly at night?
It's an all-weather capability, day, night, all-weather. We'll fly it when we need to fly it.
And subsonic?
It's a subsonic airplane.
Explain the scenario in which it would be flown after they're built.
A scenario in which it would be flown.
Mission. What are
Well, its targets are targets in the Soviet Union that could be either fixed or mobile. It basically has the same mission as any manned bomber force. It can fly at high altitude in areas which are not defended, and it can fly at low altitude in areas which are defended. And it has the inherent flexibility with the low radar cross-section to avoid defenses getting to any target it needs to. But it can fly high and low, and the actual what mission profile it will fly will depend on the specific target it's after and the mission that it's assigned to do as part of the nuclear retaliatory strike.
How big is the payload and where is it?
I can't tell you the amount of the payload. The payload bomb bay is internal to the aircraft behind the cockpit.
Mr. Secretary, why do you need a news penetrating bomber now? You've got the B-1 fresh off the production line, only now being deployed.
The combination of the B-1, which has the capability to handle the current threats, we have to anticipate what the future threats will be. The time factor in terms of getting an aircraft designed and built and in production, we have to anticipate future capabilities. We look at the capability of the B-1 against the current threat and the B-2 against the future threat, realizing that this airplane is not going to be operational until the mid-90s, fully operational.
What would this type of challenge do to the Soviet air defenses?
It essentially renders it ineffective because the type of air defense systems they have will not be able to detect this aircraft except at extremely short ranges.
What's the significance of the identification number in the front? Any or not?
Just a tip. We serial number each aircraft, and I don't know the significance of that particular number.
How do you handle the criticism that mobile missiles allegedly are stabilizing? Peak size has mobile missiles, therefore you're assured of having some deterrent left. If this goes after the mobile missiles, the criticism is that it makes Russia less sure of its deterrence. How do you handle that?
Well, the question is, what is deterrence?
Is it destabilizing?
No, it's not destabilizing. The idea behind this aircraft is to hold those targets at risk in the Soviet Union. Though that's what deterrence is all about. And when the Soviet Union are beginning to make their targets harder and more mobile, our ability to be able to hold those at risk enhances the deterrence that the nuclear war would never start in the first place. That's the whole idea behind the flexibility of a manned bomber force, and in particular the flexibility of this particular bomber. The capability to hold at risk those things which the Soviet value is what you get out of deterrence. And
what happens when you get this plane fully operational and the Soviets have developed a radar system that can see it?
That's going to be very, very expensive for them to do, and we're not sure how well they would do that against this aircraft at this point.
Is this the
Are
final
we able
color
to
of that
do
plane?
that? Do we have any kind of radar systems that could track this stuff?
Let me tell you, the bomber is not invisible. If the bomber gets close enough to any radar, it will see it. If I set a radar on this stand, I can see that airplane. But the radars are not capable of seeing that airplane at long ranges. And so the flexibility of when having a radar deployed, the airplane avoids flying in the vicinity of radars, which are now very limited in their detection range. We do not have a capability to go after this aircraft ourselves at long ranges, and it's going to be extremely expensive and some future technology to do that in the future.
Why, when you spent technologically capable of developing a system like that in the near
We don't anticipate they will be in any time in the foreseeable future.
When you speak of high altitude, does that mean the contrail problem has been solved?
Yes.
How?
I'm not going to tell you.
Why, when you spent several years developing it as a high-level penetrator, did you decide to go in 84, 85 to a low level? Is that
Well, it was actually decided to go that much earlier than time. That when the Reagan administration came in and looked at the design of the aircraft, we decided at the time that the airplane should have the inherent flexibility of going high and low, not just be limited in its capability to fly high. And therefore the design was changed to have it the ability to fly both high altitude and low altitude, and that was done.
So can you elaborate on the redesign of the plane? Is there anything noticeable that...
You couldn't notice it. There may be some small changes in some of the characteristics of the leading edge and trailing edge, but the basic of the airplane stayed the same. It was beefed up structurally to be able to handle the high frequency loads that would occur at low altitude as opposed to having only a high altitude environment.
Can't you see this airplane from looking down from the top? Can't you see it from the look-down radar?
Looking down from the top, I don't know of any radar that, other than an airplane sitting directly above it, would be able to see it. And under those conditions, you can't, the radar cross-section, you cannot look a radar straight down at the ground without getting clutter.
Does this negate the SS-24 and 25?
Flight control?
I'm sorry, let me ask this guy.
Fly-by-light flight controls?
Fly by light?
electromagnetic pulse.
Fiber optics flight controls? I'm not going to answer that.
Does this negate the SS-24 and 25 that we have to go after them? Are you confident this could find it and destroy it?
It has the ability to go after mobile missiles. The technology to give it the capability to finding the aircraft is very difficult. But the airplane, you have to realize, is probably going to be in the Strategic Air Command's inventory for at least 30 years. And the technologies that's going to be evolved over the next 30-year period to give it ability to go after a variety of targets is going to be significant. And therefore, we believe that this airplane is going to have a significant improvement capability against any variety of targets in the Soviet Union during its lifetime.
So these planes won't be static, and you'll be continuing to add to...
Yes, all strategic bombers get upgraded. The B-52 has been upgraded continually, modification after modification. We did the same thing for the B-1. We'll be continuing to do the same thing for the B-1. We anticipate there will be modifications of this aircraft over its life, as we do any aircraft, to be able to handle the threats as they evolve.
Can you explain why we're not invited to see the rear of the aircraft?
There are characteristics of the aircraft of which we are not going to provide any access to, and we're just not. This is the most anybody will get close to it, except those people who have the proper clearances.
Why did you make this public anyway? It was so top secret.
Well, it has to start flying. It's going to be extremely difficult for us to hide this airplane, and we're not going to fly it just at night or just in a remote location. It has to start flying, and when it starts flying, people will see it, and therefore we decided to bring it out now. We've been criticized for hiding things. Now we're criticized for bringing them out. I don't understand.
It would have some technological applications for industry and so forth. What types of...
Well, the design technologies that went into the construction of the airplane, the computer-aided design, computer-aided manufacturing capability, is kind of state-of-the-art and advancing the state-of-the-art in producing this aircraft. And the technologies that have been applied here, manufacturing technologies, are very, very state-of-the-art, and therefore I think as we see this airplane being built with this kind of capability and applicable to other kinds of industry, I think it's going to be very valuable.
Are you going to build 2 of these a month?
We haven't decided what the ultimate production rate will be. We're just beginning the production right now.
So elaborate on your earlier statement. Is this as close as, if you have your way, is this as close as the Soviets would be allowed to come?
Yes.
No closer than this.
No closer than this.
How far behind are the Soviets in this kind of technology?
The question is, how far behind are the Soviets in this kind of technology? I'm not aware of any Soviet program like this.
Time for 2 more questions.
Would this plane be used? Concerned about Russian satellite coverage today of today's events?
No.
Are there any up there now?
They could have somebody right here. It'd be a lot closer than a satellite.
Is this a waste of taxpayers' dollars?
Absolutely not. This program is essential. We can't afford to be without this program. This is an essential program.
How many people are employed on this program, and what will you be?
You'll have to ask Northrop that. I don't know. Have you?
Got any supersonic capability?
No.
Why don't you talk about the conventional role? We'll let you go.
Well, the conventional role is it has a capability. Its primary role is nuclear, but it would have a conventional capability. As you noticed, it would have a conventional capability only with internal carriage of weapons. But right now, we have no plans to use it. The B-1 is perfectly capable of that. The B-52 is perfectly capable of that in today's threat environment. And for the near term, and we don't anticipate we'd use this aircraft on the conventional road because we don't have to. Okay, thank you very much. I got to run.
B-2 team members across the country were asked to show their dedication to the program by signing a canvas symbolizing their commitment to quality. The canvas represents the hard work and determination of the thousands of men and women who make up the B-2 team. It contains the new team logo, the Air Force star composed of 5 planforms of the B-2. Northrop Chairman of the Board and Chief Executive Officer Tom Jones was the first person to sign. Each person who signed received a pen that said, "Total quality on the B-2 begins with me," the theme of the canvas ceremonies. Team members at the B-2 division signed the center panel. One side panel was signed by employees at other Northrop divisions and team members at LTV, General Electric, and Hughes. The other side panel contained signatures of employees at Boeing. The names of more than 34,000 team members appear on the canvas. Immediately following the B-2 rollout ceremony on November 22nd, a luncheon was held at Palmdale for the 400 specially invited guests. Northrop's chairman, Mr. Thomas V. Jones, made a presentation to Air Force Secretary Edward C. Aldridge and Chief of Staff General Larry D. Welsh. In his remarks, he emphasized that those who work on the B-2 program have put their names on the line as a commitment to quality workmanship.
We recognize that the quality of the B-2 depends upon the individual commitment by every man and woman on the program. Every man and every woman on the B-2 program knows that our commitment to quality is important to you, Mr. Secretary and General Welsh, and to every American. In fact, 34,000 men and women on the B-2 program have put their name on the line as individuals for B-2 quality. They want you to know that, Mr. Secretary and General Welsh, and they want you to see it for yourself. Now, these are the signatures of 34,000 men and women on the B-2 program at Northrop, at Boeing, LTV, General Electric, and Hughes. Their work may still be secret, but their commitment is not secret. This scroll declares to you and to our fellow Americans our commitment to quality. On behalf of the B-2 team, Mr. Secretary and General Welsh, I'm honored to present to you a replica of the B-2 commitment to quality.